I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Sandi Morris. Sandi Morris is an American pole vaulter. She's a record holder. She won a silver medal in the pole vault in the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. And she's still kicking ass left and right in that sport. In this episode, we talk about why she got into pole vaulting, because who does that? We talk about all of the crazy, weird words that are associated with pole vaulting, and once you listen, you'll understand why that was a topic of conversation. And we talk about some of her stories with pole vaulting, the challenges that she faces, and the steps that she's taken to overcome all of these different challenges. She is so sweet, such a blast to talk to. Follow her on social media. And this is my conversation with the 5th Olympian to appear on this show, Sandi Morris.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Sandi Morris. How you doing today, Sandi?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is 100% my pleasure. Now, for those of you at home and in the car and on a ladder listening, Sandi Morris is an Olympic pole vaulter who wins medals and things, which we'll talk about later. But, Sandi, you are the 5th Olympic athlete to appear on the show. So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that, but it's my pleasure.
No, it is all of our pleasure. So a little bit of background, everybody listening. I have a buddy. His name is John, and he lives in Dallas, where he throws bags for an airline. He does the luggage thing, baggage handler. That's what it is. He's a baggage guy for the airline. And a few weeks ago, he was unloading some bags, and he found this really long cylindrical bag, and he knew exactly what it was because he was a college decathlete. Did I say that right? Decathlete?
You did. Good job.
It's not decathlete.
Nope. Decathlete. You got it. First try.
And so he was posing with that really long pole vault bag like a fool on the tarmac. And then, I don't think you know this part, but he actually, after he found that, he actually went upstairs to the seating area for that flight and was looking for you.
So I found that out once I was boarding.
Maybe you had gone to the restroom or something or whatever. Yeah. And then he went back down, and then he looked up, and then he saw you.
And I'm very curious how he knew it was me. I was with another girl, my training partner. And I'm just like, I guess we looked apart because we were in sweatpants and athlete clothes, but we were just sitting there enjoying our burritos. And I look out the window and I'm like, look at that guy. And he was doing his little pole vault impersonation, and we just had a really good laugh about it. It was so funny.
Well, I had that same question because, please don't take this the wrong way, I have no idea what Olympic decathletes look like. Like I could not have picked you out of a lineup. No offense.
I mean, we were just sitting there in sweatpants, so I couldn't tell you either, honestly, but he nailed it. That's for sure.
Well, I asked him, and I said, how do you know what she looks like? And he goes, dude, I was a decathlete. I keep up on this shit. I know who she is. I was like, get out of here.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. And not to mention, he was looking at us through a window from over 100 feet away, out down on the tarmac. And we were sitting up in the terminal looking at him through a window. I can't believe he was like pointing at us. And I was like, yeah, that's me. How the heck does this guy know that?
He's pretty neat. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's a cool guy. I can tell that.
There's a reason we've been friends for, it's got to be 17 years or something now. It's a long time. So that's why. It's because he's so dang cool. And as a matter of fact, it was his lovely wife, Laura Barnett, that saw your tweet and reached out and responded. And because of that and her, we're talking right now. So thanks, Laura. But we're not here to talk about John Barnett, who lives in Dallas, Texas. We're here to talk about Sandi Morris, who doesn't live in Texas at all. Is that right?
Correct. I'm in Arkansas, so we're not that different.
Boo. That's cool. That's cool. Where at in Arkansas?
Fayetteville.
I don't know what those words are, so we're just going to assume you said not Little Rock.
Not Little Rock. It's where the University of Arkansas is.
So you're still there, even though I'm assuming you've graduated by now?
Yes. I graduated 2015, and I stay here so I can train with my coach, who is the college coach at Arkansas. And I'm listed as a volunteer coach, so I can use the facilities, and I help with recruiting. And in return, I get to train here.
All right, Sandi, where did you grow up? Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Illinois, and then we moved to South Carolina when I was very young, like 3 years old. And I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, and that is what I claim is my hometown.
And you were born in Illinois? Where?
Illinois, yes, in Downers Grove, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Again, you're making up words like Fayetteville. So what took your family from Illinois to South Carolina?
So my dad is a geologist. So before I was born, they did live in, so I have some Texas in my blood, I guess. They lived in Houston, Texas for, I think 2 or 3 years before I was born because he was in the oil industry. And then he got into the environmental side of geology, and he now, well, they still live in South Carolina, but that's why we moved there originally, is for my dad to work with an environmental company in South Carolina.
So he started off helping people dig for oil, and now he's like, let's try and save the environment. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Morris. Go save the environment. You and Elon Musk can save the environment all by yourselves.
My dad's up for it.
Very cool.
Yep.
So you grew up, and let's just assume that you went to all of your primary schooling in South Carolina.
Yep, that's accurate.
Why did you pick the University of Arkansas? Is that what it's called?
That is what it's called, the University of Arkansas, Woo-Pig-Suey.
Wait, are they the Razorbacks?
Yeah, the Razorbacks. You know them.
Everybody knows them.
Everybody knows the Razorbacks. Come on.
When did you decide that you were going to be a track and field young lady?
I have had track in my blood since I was born because my parents, they were both track athletes. Well, my dad was what your friend was, a decathlete, and my mom was a heptathlete. So that means mom did 7 events, dad did 10 events. Well, complicated. Indoor season's different than outdoors. Whatever. Long, complicated story. But anyway, so both my parents did a lot of track events, and I, as a kid, just loved racing other little kids. That was all I wanted to do, was race people, because in the first grade, I discovered I was fast. And once a little kid discovers they're good at something, that's all they want to do. At least that was what I wanted to do.
Now, all little kids think they're fast. How did you know that you really were fast? Because you were beating all these kids' asses?
Yeah, pretty much. And for me, it was like a single moment where it was like an aha, I'm fast moment. And it was in first grade.
Aha!
Aha! No, literally, I was in first grade, and I remember the exact moment that I discovered I was actually fast and not just a kid who thought they were fast. It was field day, and they lined up like every kid in the elementary school, including all the 5th graders, and I was in first grade, and I won this field day race across the field. I remember running across the line and like looking up all happy and whatever, grass flying everywhere, and my first grade teacher, Miss Sanzane, she looked down at me and she goes, "Sandi, you're really fast." And I was like, "I am?" And then I was like, "Oh, I guess I beat everybody. I am fast." And from that moment on, any little kid that would accept a challenge from me at a foot race, I would race them. It was my favorite thing to do. So my parents put me on a track team when I was 7 years old, and that was my life. I was obsessed with track. I wanted to try every event. They spent, oh gosh, I don't even want to know how much money and hours taking me to coaches, and spent our summers at track meets doing USA track and field meets and AAU meets. And just the whole summer was on the track my entire life. So it grew from there.
Is AAU like Arkansas Athletics or something?
Honestly, I would have to Google what that stands for, but no, it's not Arkansas. It's actually a category of meets, and they're all over the U.S., and it's for young kids of all age groups.
Oh, okay, cool. So since that happened so early that you discovered you were faster than everybody else, are we going to assume that there's a little bit of God-given talent thrown in there, like you were born with a good bit of it?
Yes, my parents like to joke that I got all of their athletic genes and more. And I guess they were right, because I am very naturally gifted. So I was actually very good at the hurdles and a pretty good sprinter in middle and high school. And then it was in about 8th grade, I discovered the pole vault. And it wasn't the only thing I did. I also did the 100-meter hurdles and the pole vault, and then like the 4x4. My mom was my track coach, so I did whatever she told me to do. And then I played volleyball, and I rode horses, and I was into music. So I was one of those kids that just wanted to do everything. And the pole vault is just the thing that I excelled the most at continuously. So it kind of picked me.
It sounds like you were a very, very spoiled child. Now,
I'll take that as a compliment.
Good, you should. So your dad was a geologist, and your mom, now you said she was your coach. Was she a track coach for school, or what was her profession?
Yeah, so dad was a geologist, or still is. My mom, she has run a sewing business from the home since I was a little kid, or before that.
What does that mean?
So when I was little, she sewed wedding gowns, and then she moved into interior stuff. So now her job title is interior decorator, and so she sews draperies and bedspreads and pillows and does entire homes, like custom fabrics and all of that stuff. So she has had a successful business from the home my whole life.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's really cool. Both my parents are very cool. And then on top of that, she would substitute teacher at my high school in order to be able to coach my high school track team while I was in high school.
Are you an only child?
No, I'm not. I have 2 sisters.
Do they hate you?
You know, it is kind of hard when we walk into Dad's garage and it's just like covered in track paraphernalia, like signs that he scaled fences to steal from like SEC championships and USA championships. And then there's just like posters of me everywhere. And I jokingly will look at my sister as we're walking through the garage like, I'm so sorry.
That is hilarious. I was totally kidding. That is so funny.
No, it's pretty funny. But, you know, I joke that I'm the son my dad never had. So he really clings to my pole vaulting, like is very, very into it. And everybody's cool with it.
That is so funny. So you said you found pole vaulting, or pole vaulting found you. You first dabbled in pole vaulting, did you say in middle school?
Yes, I started pole vaulting in like 8th grade. It's the first time I tried it.
Okay, everybody listening, I want you to raise your hand if there was even a pole vaulter in your middle school. No, I don't. Oh, I'm not seeing any hands at all.
Wait, no. Okay, listen though. You would be shocked at how many
am
people...
shocked.
No, listen. When I say I'm a pole vaulter, how many people look at me and go, oh, I tried that? And it's usually in their thick country accent. And I'm like, yeah, what did you try it on? Like off a bale of hay or something? And they're like, actually, yeah. Like, I hear the funniest stories. And I swear, everybody and their grandpa have tried pole vaulting at one point in their life, and it didn't go so well. That's always how it is.
All right. Well, I am about 20 years older than you, and there was neither a pole vaulter, a discus thrower, a javelin thrower, a shot putter. None of them shits were in my middle school. There might have been one in my high school, but if there was, I never saw him.
Wait. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? I'm interviewing now. It's my turn.
Do I have to say it in a hillbilly accent?
Yes.
I'm from San Antonio.
Okay. And y'all didn't have track in general? Hardly.
Well, thank you for saying y'all, which is the correct pronunciation of you all, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now, there was track and field, but there was just like hurdles and jumps and shit like that. Like, we didn't have any of that in middle school. I will swear on that. And I went to like 2 or 3 different middle schools. But in high school, if there was any of that stuff, I did not see it. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I'm saying it was so under the radar as to not exist.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Guess what, Streetwalkers? The gear is here. A bunch of you have been asking for quite some time, and now finally it's here. Head over to FascinationStreetPod.com and check out the gear tab. There, you'll find all kinds of FSP items to tickle your fancy. T-shirts, coffee mugs, sticker packs, pins, buttons, coasters, and my personal favorite, for just $5 you can get one of those weird little phone handle pop thingies. So head to FascinationStreetPod.com and show the world that you're proud to be a streetwalker. Special thanks to my good buddy Stephen O'Reilly from the Bar Star Podcast for these dope drum beats. Check out Steve's work at O'Reilly Drums on Instagram or search Stephen O'Reilly on YouTube.
Let's get back into it.
Pole vaulting has grown a lot, and actually, especially in the great state of Texas, there is a lot of pole vaulting and a lot of pole vault clubs. You would be surprised.
In Austin, maybe.
No, like in different areas of Texas, I swear.
Okay, so now I live in a small town about 30 miles outside of San Antonio, and I live literally a half a mile from the high school. And at this high school in this tiny ass Texas town, I don't know if there's pole vaulting. I'm assuming there is because there is discus and there is shot put.
Okay, so that's a start.
So I'm going to assume that there's also pole vaulting and javelin throwing things.
Okay.
But that was like, when I first saw that on the Olympics, I was like, where are these, what country are these American pole vaulters from?
What country are the American? I like how you specify.
Correct.
The country of the American pole vaulters.
I was like 10 or something the first time I saw that, and I was like, what the hell is happening right now?
That person is flying on a pole over another pole. Where am I?
It is unreal. Okay, so let's talk about your pole vaulting stuff. So you're pole vaulting, and please take this in the spirit in which it is intended, which is all fun and good. In doing my research to speak with you, pole vaulting and the words associated with pole vaulting, I think maybe even more than golfing, the terms are extremely sexual.
Oh, I could do an entire YouTube video.
It is so dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Just the terms of pole vaulting. So aside from that, let's talk about pole vaulting. But first, you said that you were the fastest kid in your little school when you were a 1th grader. Now, were you fast for a person or were you fast for a girl?
I mean, I beat all the little boys, so I guess I was fast for a person in general.
Nice. Good answer.
Thanks.
Let's talk about pole vaulting.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Why not? It's a fun thing where you fling your body through the air as fast as you can.
So how come you weren't terrified to do that?
Okay, so everybody has this like misconception that when you try pole vaulting, you're actually just grabbing the top of a pole and going from really far back and bending the pole. And that's not how it works. I describe it as like, you have to learn how to pole vault, okay? Imagine handing someone a violin. They can't really try to play it. You have to first teach them how to hold the bow. Then you have to teach them how to hold the violin. Then you teach them how to place their fingers on the neck of the violin. And the pole vault is very similar. First, you teach someone how to hold the pole, how to run with the pole. And then you start with maybe 4 or 5 steps away from the box, which is where the end of the pole goes into the ground. And yes, I know you are thinking of those sexual innuendo jokes. Not funny anymore. I'm just kidding. It's still funny. But anyway, so you put the pole in the box. And
just the tip.
Just the tip. And you just barely make it up onto the pit. And that's what happens when you try pole vault for the first time. You're not jumping
What is a
high.
pit?
You're not going from far. The pit is what you land on. It's like a giant mattress, basically.
Okay. Let's go back to when you're in 8th grade. You're very first starting out this pole vaulting thing. You're giving it a shot.
Okay.
How tall? I'm sure you don't know exactly, but let's just round up or down or whatever. How tall-ish are you in 8th grade when you first try this?
I am tiny. That's all I know. I was a little scrawny 8th grader who is probably 90 pounds and I don't know, maybe 5 feet tall. I don't even know if I was that tall yet.
Okay, so let's go 4.5, 5 feet, something like that. How long is this pole?
I actually still have my first pole. It was 11 feet long, and I was gripping probably 3 feet down.
Okay, so this pole is 2.5 times the size of you as a person.
Yes.
I guess what I want to know is, why were you not so intimidated by that, just that by itself, as to steer clear from that event? I guess, where did you get the confidence to give that a shot and to really give it your all?
You're talking about the same girl who would purposely do front flips off of horses and would purposely climb to the top of a 40-foot magnolia tree in my neighbor's backyard and like sit at the very top of the tree and make it sway back and forth with my body weight and say, "Look at me, Miss Brady," and she would have a panic attack and call my mom to come get me out of the tree as if she could do that. So this is the person you're talking about.
Oh, you're a crazy person.
Yeah, I'm nuts. I'm just crazy.
Nuff said. You're insane. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about that equipment. Because you said you own this equipment, so I'm going to assume that this pole vault did not belong to your school. I guess it's not a pole vault. It's just called a pole.
I mean, the people that check me in at the airlines think it's called a pole vault, so you might as well just call it that.
Yes, but the people who check you in at the airlines didn't get a GED.
Yeah, they need to step their game up.
But you are the vaulter, and it is a pole, correct?
Yes. So we jump using a pole vault pole. When you put them in a tube, we call it our bag. I don't really know why we use the term pole bag, because it's not really a bag. I guess it is a bag.
What else would you call it? Would you call it a cylinder? This is my pole cylinder. Nah, they just call them bags. It's
okay,
cool.
I'm going to start calling it that just because
yeah,
you just
right.
said that.
Oh, hey, Dad, have you seen my pole cylinder?
I mean, we use other very, very strange terminology, like you said. Like, why do we call the tip of the pole a butt plug? I'm sorry, but we really couldn't.
What did you just say?
I'm not kidding you. It's called a butt plug.
What? You're saying bud like
No.
Budweiser?
No, like a butt plug goes on the tip of the pole.
So just to be clear, as you're running with both hands on this pole, right before you plant the tip of your pole in the box, you're actually planting your butt plug in the box?
Accurate.
This interview is over. I can no longer breathe. I'm about to have an asthma attack. This is the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life.
I told you, like, our whole event is like one big sex joke. I mean, seriously. It's so bad to where, like, okay, I won't say who, but someone in the history of my sport while we were practicing started giving us, this is terrible, I shouldn't even say this, but stripper names because we are flying on poles, and this person would jokingly be like, okay, now my friend Megan, her name was Cinezim because her last name is Zimlick. And so this person was calling her Cinezim every time she would vault. And it was kind of chuckle worthy for a little bit. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, so the world just sees a bunch of strippers.
So what was your stripper pole name?
He told me that my name was already a stripper name. And I don't know that I agree that Sandi is a stripper name, because the only people I've met named Sandi are either 65-year-old women or a dog or me. So,
Let's go with candy.
yes. Candy
Next
Sandy.
up on the poll, gentlemen, get your dollar bills out because next up on the poll is candy.
Oh my god.
Get your butt plugs ready for candy. This is
Hold
so
on.
weird.
Give me a break. I'm going to get a shovel to dig my grave now. So, see ya.
This is so uncomfortable. So, back to the equipment.
Yes.
So does this equipment belong to the school?
So I have my own set of pole vault poles, and when we travel, we actually
Right, but we're going back to that 8th grade one.
Ah, I see. No, my poor parents had to buy me pole vault poles at first.
Where?
You may not know this. Online and through a pole dealer. This is a thing. Okay.
Wait, there was online when you were in 8th grade?
Online did exist. Yeah.
That's right, listeners. She is a child.
Yeah.
There was online when she was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just go to Amazon.com and you order a pole vaulting pole?
Yeah. No. I don't actually know. Now that I think about it, I'm like, how did they know? Okay, so like here's the nitty gritty detail of how I started pole vaulting specifically. A pole vault coach saw me running hurdles and went over to my dad and said, "Is that your little girl?" He said yes. And he said she would make a really good pole vaulter. I guess he recognized that I was fast and he knew I was crazy by the look in my eye. I don't know. But he started giving me pole vault lessons with my dad. And then it just grew from there. So I'm assuming that guy, who I still know and I go ride horses with on occasion, knew where to direct my parents to get poles. And I still have my first pole vault pole, and it's in my parents' garage along with my dad's shrine of my faith.
That is insane. So, how much do these pole vault poles go for? I'm assuming that you don't use the same size that you did when you were in 8th grade.
Yeah, no. I would definitely not be very good if I used that size pole. But the answer to your question is they are very expensive. Even a pole for a kid is probably $400.
No kidding.
Yeah, not joking right now.
What are they made out of?
They're made out of carbon fiber or fiberglass or a mixture.
That's so funny.
Yep.
I was going to ask which one it was, but it's both sometimes. It's both. It's either or both.
Either or both, yes. But what we have discovered is carbon fiber is more brittle than the fiberglass, but the fiberglass is heavier. So a lot of the pole manufacturers have found the perfect mixture to where the pole is still going to be light. It has some carbon fiber, but you don't want the thing to break on you, so you have to mostly make it out of fiberglass. So most of them are a combination of the two to make it lightweight, but it's not going to shatter on you because you don't want that.
Now, everybody thinks that carbon fiber is stronger than fiberglass, but in the case of pole vaulting, that is not true?
It is strong, but it cannot flex as much as fiberglass. Fiberglass can withstand more flexing before it breaks. So that's the problem with carbon fiber. If it's not bending, yes, it's extremely strong, but it can't withstand nearly the amount of bend before it's going to shatter.
Gotcha. How heavy is a pole vaulting pole?
Not very heavy. I've actually never weighed one, surprisingly enough, but I would guess just shy of, I don't know, maybe about 7 pounds. Because if you hold it perpendicular to the ground in the palm of your hand, you know, you can kind of feel like, yeah, this isn't very heavy. But then when you're holding it on the end parallel to the ground, it feels real heavy.
Sure. So when you hold it, you're holding it at the end, or are you holding it somewhere, like, pretend it's a bat. Are you choking up, or are you holding it on the end?
Elite vaulters, most of us are what we call capping the pole, and that means we're holding it the very top, as high as you can almost. But when you're in high school or you're developing...
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right. You have to work your way up to that and find out, like, okay, which poles are what I need in order to be able to grab the top. Which, the way the poles are made, they're made to work the best when they are being held at the top. So when you're holding the top, the way the pole bends is going to feel the best if you're holding at the top. So that's why they make different lengths instead of just, just grip 3 feet down from the top of the pole. So the middle of the pole is built a little bit different for each pole length. So you want to find the pole length that works for you in order to be able to grip the top of the pole to utilize how the pole is made.
Gotcha.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening.
Hey, hello. Are you interested in getting from A to B while sitting? At Detroit Bikes, we've got a new product that I think you're going to love. It's a bicycle. It's got 2 wheels, hence the bi. And the sickle is because it's a cycle that your wheels go in. So this is a product where you've got a seat. You are actually sitting while moving.
Wow.
And it's as easy as just pedaling, pushing with your legs. So we think that customers are going to love this product, and we hope you'll check it out at www.detroitbikes.com.
www.detroitbikes.com.
Let's get back into it.
So you're learning how to pole vault in middle school, and I'm assuming that you're going to these track meets on your pole vaulting. Are you doing any other events at these track meets?
Yeah, so when I was real young, like elementary, middle school, it was mostly long jump and the 100-meter hurdles until I got to 8th grade, discovered the pole vault, and started focusing on more of the pole vault and just the hurdles. But I did the long jump, I did the 400-meter dash. On occasion, I did the 200-meter dash when I was really young. So basically all the sprinting events that I could do without keeling over and dying, and the long jump and the 100-meter hurdles. And then later on is when I really started to focus on the pole vault.
Okay, so now we're moving into high school, and you graduate to a different pole because you grew 3 inches?
Yes. I actually had one year where I grew like 5 inches. That was painful.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible.
So now you're in high school, and you're a pole vaulter, and are you just going around and kicking everybody's ass in this event?
Honestly, in the state of South Carolina, yeah, especially my junior and senior year. Freshman, sophomore year, I was developing and I had competition on the level playing field. And then once I got to junior and senior year, there was maybe one other girl who was competing against me fairly close to my ability. And then my senior year of high school, I had excelled a lot and was, on my way to a scholarship I started out at UNC Chapel Hill. I was going to mention that earlier. And then I transferred to Arkansas.
Okay, so you got, was it a full ride based on a pole vaulting?
So to UNC Chapel Hill, it was 50%. And then I transferred to Arkansas and they had a full ride for me.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask why the transfer, but now I don't have to.
There was a lot more to it, but, the financial aspect of it does help.
Okay, so let's take money out of it. You said there was a lot more to it. What else?
Well, basically, Arkansas called me out of high school and recruited me. But at that time, they had the current national champion and collegiate record holder, and they had 2 other pole vaulters, female pole vaulters, on scholarship. So basically, they didn't have much money to allocate to another pole vaulter. So my parents were kind of like, we don't want you going 15 hours away and you're not getting much scholarship to go there. And, my parents are from South Carolina. And so I was mostly looking at ACC schools, and I ended up going to Chapel Hill because I loved the campus. I really loved the team environment that was there. And it's a great university. And I had a lot of fun those 2 years. And then I decided to transfer because I was kind of struggling in the classroom. I always thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. Quickly learned that I was not cut out for that, especially when you're a social butterfly like me. I needed to buckle down. And with track, it was very hard. And later on, once I transferred, I did discover journalism, which is what I ended up majoring in, is broadcasting. And that worked out very well for me. And also, for the 2 years I was at UNC, I was not improving in the pole vault. And I think there's a number of things that went into that, but the training program just wasn't right for me, and I wasn't improving, and I knew I could be so much better. I just knew it. And I kind of dug myself into a hole with grades, and I just felt like I needed a whole fresh start, a new major, a new university, a new coach, new training partners. And so I started looking at transferring, and I had to transfer to a different conference, because if you go within the same conference, you lose a year of eligibility. I don't know if it's still that way. I think it is. So I said, okay, I can go anywhere else that's not in the ACC. So I started looking around, and the first school that came to mind and the first one that made sense was Arkansas, because I knew how good the coach was here. I had spoken to Tina Sute, was her name, or is her name. She's still pole vaults also, his current superstar at that time. And I kind of got a feel for the culture here. And it's a track school. We have one of the best track teams in NCAA history, both men's and women's. And I just really wanted to come check it out. Came on a little unofficial visit, and I really liked it. I loved Fayetteville. It all just made sense. Came here, stars aligned, and now here we are like 8 years later, and I haven't left.
Nice. So you said you graduated with a major in journalism?
Yes, broadcast journalism.
Was that forward thinking on your part? Because once you hang up your cleats, your spikes, you're going to hopefully maybe be an Olympic reporter, they have all the other games. It's not just the Olympics, kids.
Right. Yeah. I would be lying to your face, or I guess to your ear, if I said I planned that out so thoughtfully. I was more of that kid who was like desperately trying to find a major that clicked with me. And growing up, I always knew I was good at writing. I always excelled in all of the like language arts classes and literature and any of the communication type classes I did really well in, but I had never imagined myself as a reporter. Like I picture, okay, out on the field, like interviewing people, like, pretty blonde girl or whatever. And that, I know it sounds like that would go with my personality, but at the time I was always such a tomboy. I'm still very much a tomboy, but, I'll put a dress on sometimes now, and I like makeup randomly. But growing up, I just didn't identify with like the kind of girly girl that I picture as a reporter. But I came to Arkansas, and right before I transferred, a roommate that I had at UNC, she was actually majoring in cinema production or something, or theater production, or no, film and productions. That was her major, film and productions. And she had me help her with a class project. And it was like making a video and acting out in this cinema, like making a movie basically. And I was like, you're doing this for a class? This is so cool. And she showed me how to use Final Cut Pro on her computer. That's an editing program. And I just discovered that I liked video. I liked shooting video and editing it. And I started playing around with it myself, and I was good at it. And then I transferred to Arkansas, and I literally walked up to the academic advisor and I looked her in the face and I said, what major do you have where you get to shoot and edit videos for class? And she goes, well, we have broadcasting. And that was the only thing that even came close to that description. So I said yes, and I ended up loving it.
Well, that's super rad. I'm going to assume that most, if not all, I mean, like you're watching the Olympics and let's just say you're watching the ice skating, figure skating announcers. Those people previously were figure skaters. And when you're watching, I don't know, the distance runners, the people who are broadcasting those events were previously distance runners. So I think that's really cool that you're going to be able to, hopefully, eons down the road, when you do hang up your spikes, that you're hopefully going to be able to transition into doing that. I think that'd be super rad. That said, is there any money in pole vaulting?
There is money in pole vaulting, but it's only enough money for the really, truly best in the world. Our sport does not have the depth of funding that, say, American football or basketball or baseball, the three big Bs. We don't have nearly that kind of funding. I'd say the top 5% of us make a good living and we don't have to do anything else. And then the rest of us have to have a part-time job or maybe even full-time jobs. And it's really volatile. You'll have one athlete who is really well off. Some of the sprinters, I'm sure, make close to $1 million a year or maybe even more. And then you've got the people who are struggling to even make $1 on the track. Maybe they're ranked, I don't know. It's hard to make a living if you're ranked below, I would say, number 20 in the world. I mean, we're talking the best 20 people in the world at something. And from number 10 to 20, I don't know. You might have to have a part-time job. Underneath 20, you definitely need a part-time job or a full-time job. And to be able to train and to be able to travel to go compete. It's really crazy how volatile and how different the income can be from number 1 ranked person in the world in said event to number 20. It drops dramatically.
Where does the money come from?
So most of the money comes from shoe sponsorships. I'm sponsored by Nike, so they pay me a set base salary, and then we have a bonus structure. So it'll say, if you hit this height, you get this bonus. It'll either be a one-time bonus or a rollover bonus, meaning it tacks on to your base salary for the duration of your contract. So a lot of the money comes from shoe contracts. And then another big chunk of the money comes from prize money. So if you're going to the best competitions in the world, there's a series called the Diamond League series, and those are mostly in Europe. They're the highest track and field competitions in the world, aside from the Olympics and the World Championships. They're number 3, and they have structured prize money. So for my event specifically, and the sprinting events have bigger prize pots. Why? It's a long conversation. But the field events, typically it's 10 grand for the win, and it goes down to 8th place, gets a couple $1,000s. So we're talking about if you go to all of the Diamond Leagues and each event, my event has 6 Diamond Leagues a year. So let's say I went and I won every single Diamond League. There's $60,000. And then if you win the final, the last meet of the Diamond League, it's a $50,000 prize. So let's say you're the best pole vaulter in the world at every single meet you go to. Nobody ever beats you. You're making pretty good money. But are you making anywhere close to what the best football team in America is making? No, it's chump change. But it's definitely plenty for any one person to live off of. So it's either prize money or appearance fees from those meets themselves or shoe contracts, mostly.
Well, that is dope. What size shoe are you?
I am a size 9.
A size 9. What's your favorite color?
Greeny blue.
Like aqua?
Yeah.
What the fuck is greeny blue?
It just sounded better than aqua. Boring. I'm going to say greeny blue. Or maybe bluey green. Sounds cooler.
Okay, all right. Stop it. You're making up words again, like Fayetteville.
Okay, I know. Every word is made up, okay? Someone made up every word, so don't give me that.
How dare you?
I know. I'm terrible.
Okay, so how weird does it feel to run as fast as you can while holding an obscenely long pole?
See, there you go with the sex jokes again. What is wrong with you?
I didn't mean it sexually, but okay. How weird is it to run as fast as you can while holding a ridiculously long pole? That's got to feel super weird, when you first started.
It does.
That can't be comfortable.
No, it's not. But you do very slowly work your way up to that. And you get more and more comfortable with it with experience, like anything else. It's not scary at this point. I'm so used to it, but you really are sprinting nearly as fast as you can. I'd say it's a controlled sprint. You're not going so fast and so hard that you can't control what's happening. I'd say like 95%.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
So this person spent quite a bit of time in the commission of this monstrous act.
Hi, y'all. I'm Vincent, host of Gone Cold Podcast, Texas True Crime. Each week, we take a thorough look at lesser-known unsolved cases throughout the Lone Star State. Hear victims' stories as told by their loved ones, and expert insight from law enforcement and medical professionals.
You know, using a hatchet, that's an extremely violent and rageful type of act.
The truth is out there somewhere, and you can help us find it.
You know, before I die, I want to know who did it.
Please join us as we examine forgotten Texas cases. Subscribe and listen to Gone Cold Podcast, Texas True Crime on your favorite podcatcher.
There are monsters among us.
Let's get back into it.
How is indoor different from outdoor?
You know, that's funny. A lot of people ask that.
Really? Oh, don't
Yeah.
answer it then. I hate a lot of people.
No, but like people ask it because, I don't know, I guess we don't talk about it that much publicly for people to understand like what's different. So for a non-field event athlete, the structure of their race actually changes indoor versus outdoor, because an indoor track is typically 200 meters around, so it's a smaller circle. And outdoor, it's a 400-meter track. So that completely changes up how fast you can run. Like the indoor times, say for the 400-meter dash, are going to be quite a bit slower than the outdoor times because they have to make tighter turns and they have to make 4 turns instead of 2. But our event in the pole vault, the pit's the same, the runway's the same, the box is the same. Literally the only change is you are indoors. And I personally like it better, because you don't have to worry about the weather or the wind, and the wind affects us a lot. That is probably the hottest topic of conversation among elite pole vaulters going into a meet is, what is the wind going to be like today? You really have to focus mentally on, okay, how am I going to handle it if we have a headwind? Even if the wind is behind us, and we call that a tailwind, that can affect you negatively because you have to go up to bigger poles and you have to make those adjustments, and you only have so many jumps, only 3 attempts at each height to make the right adjustments. So yeah, it's great if you have a tailwind, but if it's a big tailwind, you might not even have a big enough pole in your bag that day. So to answer your question, for us, indoor, we just don't have to deal with the weather, and I like it better.
So do you do both?
Yeah. So every season, so indoor season is from January to March, and outdoor season, which we're heading into right now, will start for some people as early as mid-March, but I'm going to open up mine late April. And like this year, the Olympics, they're usually in like August. They're a little bit early this year. But yeah, so our season's typically over maybe the first week of September. You'll have your last meet of the year, and you get a whole month off before you start training again.
Hilarious.
Yep.
Now, you did mention that the Olympics are going to be this year. Where are they? Are they in Japan?
Yes, they are in Tokyo. So yes, there's conversation about the virus.
Are we all crossing our collective fingers and hoping that we get this corona thing settled by then? Like, is there a chance that they cancel them?
There has been some whispering going on about the Olympics being canceled, but first of all, I know a lot of the listeners probably have not been to Japan, but I have. And if any culture can get a virus under control, it's Japan, okay? These people are so organized and so clean. I've never been anywhere so clean in my life. Like, you go to Japan, you don't see trash cans anywhere. You know why? Because people carry their trash all the way home. They don't dispose of it in public. And I was at this university in Japan. It was in Narita in Japan. You walk up to the bathroom door. This is at a public university. You take off your shoes. They had these cute little slippers by the door that you put on. This is the toilet that is provided for the track and field facility. Okay, take your shoes off, put on these slippers, use the bathroom that also has like this fancy butt sprayer in there and like probably like soap and probably gives you a back massage. I don't know if their toilets are nuts. Walk back out, put the slippers in the dirty bin, and then put your shoes back on. Okay, so if anyone can get this virus under control, it's Japan.
That's awesome. At the beginning of that, you said maybe some of my listeners haven't been to Japan, but just so you know, the listenership ranking from most to least, it's the U.S., Canada, England, and the number 4 in listenership is Japan. So
really?
Yes.
That is fascinating.
Isn't it? Good choice of the word there. Fascinating.
Yes, I like words.
About 3 years ago-ish, I heard you say you were one of, if not the fastest female pole vaulter in the world. Do you still feel this way?
I do, yes, and there's statistics behind that. So there's been a number of biomechanists who come to like the World Championships or USA Championships, and they actually are able to get a speed on us on the runway and get a meters per second speed down the runway. And I believe I'm the only woman that has been recorded breaking 9 meters per second. That doesn't mean that I'm thinking of 2 or 3 other women who I think maybe would have been capable of doing that speed down the runway at some point in their careers. But I believe I'm the only one who's been on record. And that's just because those biomechanists, they only go to certain competitions.
Sure.
But I'm definitely top 3 fastest female pole vaulters ever as of right now. That will change someday.
Did you say 9 meters per second?
Yes.
Okay, so here in America, we don't use the metric system. We use the standard whatever the hell. So I'm going to go ahead and convert
Imperial.
that. Oh, is that what we call it? Because we're imperialists?
It's called Imperial, and we need to stop trying so hard to be different, and we need to just use metric because it would just be so much easier.
Well, I'm really good at that conversion. So for everybody listening, 9 meters per second is roughly a foot a minute. Now,
a foot per minute. Wow, that's great.
I'm totally kidding.
That's so
totally
fast.
kidding.
That is like, wow.
Oh, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about pay scales and whatnot, I guess you sort of were breaking it down by world ranking.
Yeah, that's kind of how I imagine it.
Are you ranked?
Yes, I've been top 3. So they have this ranking system where they like average what you've jumped and what you've placed in meets throughout the year. And I've been top 3 for the last 4 years.
So currently you're top 3?
Yes.
That is amazing. Well done, lady.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. How many Olympics have you been to?
Just the one.
And that was in where, Rio?
Rio de Janeiro, 2016.
Did you win any medals?
I did. I got the silver medal for America.
Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that home. Is that in your dad's garage?
Surprisingly, no. I do have my medal at my house. But don't worry, he has plenty of Olympics paraphernalia pinned all over the garage to remind our neighbors how cool his daughter is.
That is hilarious. Here's a weird question. I don't know if you've been asked this before, but did you have to pay for your medal?
No, and I have been asked that once before, and I don't know where that came from. No, they were talking about having to pay taxes on the medal.
I was actually talking about having to pay for your medal. So no, you didn't have to?
No.
Because I think the last time around when the Olympics was going on, I think there was a story, and I can't be wrong because other people have asked you. So there was a story about how some of the other countries, the smaller countries, the less funded countries, they were having a hard time coming up with the money to pay for their medal. So did the U.S. pay for your medal?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. Yeah.
That's cool. I can dig it.
I can probably find out for you, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, find out. Have you ever broken a pole?
Yes, I have broken 3 poles in my career. 2 of them were in practice, and then 1 of them was in a competition.
You're like Shaq.
Yeah.
Because Shaq used to break backboards.
Ah, okay, now I get it. Sorry.
That's why I said that. So you broke 3 poles?
Yes, 3 poles, 2 of them were in practice, and 1 was in a meet.
Now, when that happens, are you like super pissed off because you just broke $500 or $600 or $1,000?
Well, you know, I'm very fortunate because the poles that I broke in college, those belong to the university. So, yeah, my coach was pissed. And then now that I'm a professional, I have a pole sponsor. So I get my poles for free.
Oh, good. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But it does count as a miss, and it broke my wrist in 2016. So that's what I was mad about.
Wait, it broke your wrist in 2016? But weren't the Olympics in 2016?
Yes,
Did you break it before or after the Olympics?
before.
Holy shit.
So it was, I think 8 weeks before the Olympic trials. And it's not like I shattered my wrist. It was like a hairline fracture. So it was broken, but I wasn't allowed to use my wrist for 6 weeks or the bone wouldn't heal. So basically 6 of the 7 weeks and 3 days that I had before I left for the Olympic trials, I didn't pole vault, but I could run. And I did these drills where I would hang from a high bar using just my right hand, and I'd put my left arm in a sling that was attached to the high bar, and I could practice my swing without using my left hand. I was just getting all kinds of creative, just trying to stay active because I knew I wasn't going to forget how to pole vault, but how do you train to be a pole vaulter without using your hands? You know, it's kind of challenging.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big feat. And I did freak out when I got to the doctor's office and he told me I had a broken wrist. And I was like, what? No, I have the Olympic trials in 8 weeks. And not to mention, the story of breaking my wrist is insane because it was in the Czech Republic. And so I traveled all the way out to the Czech Republic. It took 32 hours to get there with my poles because you have to take certain aircraft and certain routes with your stupid poles that I want to chuck out the window. And I got sick on the way there. And then I land in Prague to find out I have a 4-hour bus ride left. And I was throwing up in the back of the bus and was absolutely miserable and sick. Then the competition rolls around and I break a pole, I think on my second height of the meet. And the pole breaks and it jumps up and it just smacked me in the shoulder when it broke in half. And it broke right under where my bottom hand was. And so the violent snap chucked my hand down so hard that movement is what fractured my wrist. It's just my hand snapping down behind my back. Nothing even contacted my wrist.
Wow.
And then I traveled home. Oh my gosh. So when you go through customs, you know how you have to collect your luggage and carry it to another spot to recheck it? Well, I was traveling home by myself and I had a broken wrist and my arm was in a sling. And I had pole vault poles, a 50-pound suitcase, a backpack, and a purse, and my broken ego. So I'm standing there looking at all of my luggage, and I'm at the Paris airport, and nobody in France speaks English. They're too good for it. And I'm asking people, will you help me carry this luggage? I can't. I have a broken arm. I was bawling in the Paris airport, begging people to help me. And finally, so I went to the desk and was asking for help. And this lady was like, I can't help you. Literally, you're a luggage person, lady, come help me. And she wouldn't. And finally, this man took pity on my soul, just a passerby. And he didn't speak English, but I pointed at the poles and I pointed at the spot I had to carry them to that was probably 400 feet away. You could see it, but it was really far down the terminal. And this man helped me, and I am forever grateful for that. And he carried my suitcases, and I carried my poles with my good arm. So that's my story of breaking my wrist.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was traumatizing. I won't lie. It took me like 3 seasons to finally go back and jump at that facility because I had
Really?
such bad memories.
Oh,
Yep.
that's terrible.
Land is a pain to get to. I mean, it's in the Czech Republic, and with poles, you have to fly into Prague, which takes long enough getting to Prague, and then you have to ride in a bus for 4 hours, and it's just like a pain to get to that spot. So,
That sounds odd.
yeah,
Do you put something on your hands so that you don't drop the pole?
I do. I use the same type of sticky spray that some baseball players use, and I also use athletic tape that I spin backwards so that the sticky side is out. But I'm very rare. I think I'm probably one of the only professional pole vaulters who does that. A friend of mine taught me that trick like a few years back, and now I'm addicted to it, and I can't stop using sticky backwards tape, and I'll never go back.
Nice.
Yep.
Give me the best tip from any coach that you have ever had.
I don't think there's any greater coach than experience, honestly.
Recently I saw this YouTube video. I don't know why, but it just popped into my head right now. I guess it kind of reminded me of you. It was this little girl who was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, and she had braces and stuff, and she was like basically rolling around in a blanket in her backyard with like a guinea pig or some shit. I don't know why, but it just reminded me of you.
Oh my God. That's so me. Literally, there's a picture of me in my guinea pig pen from like 6th grade. Oh God, I think it was on Facebook at one point because my sister posted it. It's kind of the definitive answer of why I had no friends in middle school.
I know. I saw that picture. That was just me using an excuse to bring it up. And just so you know,
oh God,
your sister captioned it, "I hate this bitch."
What? No,
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. She loves you for some reason.
Okay, literally, my sister is the most, like, Christian, like, would never say that word. Like, I think I've maybe heard her say that word once, and it was over too many glasses of wine at her wedding, so.
That's awesome. So I was totally kidding. I just wanted you to bring that up because that is hilarious.
Oh, God. How did you find that pit? Where? What?
Mind your business. Hey, I heard that recently you increased your pole size. I am. I heard you recently increased your pole size. Did I say that right? Like, did you go to a different pole fairly recently?
I have been trying to for a couple of years.
Why?
So basically, I'm trying to push myself physically, and if I can correct technique, that does allow you to be able to grip higher. But I'm at the top of my physical ability, so it's really, really hard to make that transition because the longer the poles are, they have to make them differently. So they actually bend slower the longer they are. That's like the best way I can describe it. So your jump has to be slightly delayed when you're gripping higher. Imagine the difference between a long rubber band and you stretch it and let it go. It's going to take longer to snap back. But if it's a short rubber band, it's going to snap back really fast. So it's easier to jump on shorter poles and you don't have to be as good at your technique. But in order to really try to jump higher, and I want to break the world record and I want to jump higher, I'm really trying to push my grip, but also you don't want to sacrifice technique just to grip higher. Because just gripping higher doesn't necessarily mean you're going to jump higher, because it might actually make your technique worse if you're over gripping. So I've been experimenting with it because I want to see where my limits are. And you really don't know until you try. Kind of like maxing out in the weight room. You don't know how much you can lift until you fail.
That makes sense. So how's it going for you with that new pole?
I'm back on my old poles. So
nice.
But I've been working with my pole company to try to see if there's some, I don't know, like a transition series we can make, because they go up in 6-inch increments. So my poles right now are 14 feet, 7 inches long, and the next series are 15 feet, 1 inch long. And the reason being is they actually use metric, and it's even numbers in metric. It's 4 meters 45 and 4 meters 60. So they're going up exactly 15 centimeters, which is approximately 6 inches. So that's why the random 14.7. But the way the poles are made is different. And so we're working together to try to make a set that is something in the middle that might help the way I jump specifically, which is really technical and I don't want to get into that. But trying to buy the wedding gown that almost fits and then get it tailored.
Nice.
Yeah.
My buddy John Barnett, the one that you saw that one day, he said that the pole vault is on fire right now and that Mondo Duplantis broke the world record twice last month, and then Sam Kendricks broke the American record last month also. Is that all true?
It is true. This past indoor season has been crazy on the men's side. On the women's side, I had a really good indoor season for myself, and then one of my main competitors had a really good indoor season. But I don't know. Us women, we got to step our game up because the men's pole vault, they're getting all the attention right now.
I should say so. Do you hang out with the men pole vaulters? Do you know those fellows?
Oh, yeah. We're all good buddies. We travel the world together.
Those two people I just mentioned, you know them?
Oh, yeah. They're close friends of mine. Yeah. We'll go to meets together and hang out in the hotels and drink cappuccinos and random stuff like that. Steal each other's foam rollers and make fun of each other in interviews.
Oh, very cool. Say something stupid about one of those two boys right now.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Sam is such a country boy. He's military. And sometimes I think he wears his pants a little bit too tight. But I give him heck about that in person. But he likes how he wears them. He's military. That's how they wear their pants.
Just to be clear, did you say you give him heck?
I give him heck.
Heck. All right. Oh, well, hecky darn. All right. Well, Sandi, I think that I have taken up an inordinate amount of your time tonight, and I super appreciate you making that time for this. It was so much fun to talk to you. You're so easygoing, and you made this a lot of fun, so thank you.
Oh, glad. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I had fun, too.
Well, good. Can you tell everybody your social media tags? Where can people find you?
Of course. So, Sandi with an I, and it's Sandi Cheeks, like the squirrel from SpongeBob, because she's my spirit animal. So, Sandi Cheeks, PV for pole vault.
PV. And that's everywhere? Is that Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere?
Yep, that's everything.
Oh, rock on.
Pretty simple.
Do you want to give a shout out to your coach? What is your coach's name?
Well, sure. My coach's name, well, he likes to be called Lord Compton, but it's
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, when we're having a bad day, we just say Lord Compton and it always cheers him right up. But, you know, shout out to Lord Compton, Coach Brian Compton at the University of Arkansas for putting up with me for going on 8 years now. I definitely wouldn't be here without that man. And I don't like to tell him that, but we're going to tell him that today. Maybe we won't have to run as much tomorrow. We'll see.
We shall see. Now, before I let you go, Sandi, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much covered the whole gambit.
When is your next competition?
I will be opening my outdoor season in late April at the Drake Relays, which is in Des Moines, Iowa. So if anyone's listening in Iowa, come watch me at the Drake Relays.
You want to know something really funny?
What's up?
That fellow who was my friend, John Barnett, that guy?
Yes.
Born and raised in Iowa. That's right.
No way. That's so funny.
Yep. And what's really funny is I've been telling this story for 17 years because I swear that's what his mother told me. But then recently, very recently, I found out that I might be wrong. But what I've been saying for ever is that, my buddy John Barnett was track and field dude. He still holds a state record in Iowa for one of those events. I don't know which one.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to look that up because that's awesome.
But apparently I found out that I might have been mistaken this entire time. So
that's okay. I mean, that's what best friends do. They lie for each other. So come on.
I didn't know it, though.
It's okay. It's fine. Nobody looks that stuff up anyway. Only I would do that.
Oh, well, then he has all of the state records. All right.
Wow.
Cool. Thank you very much. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, my
He's so
gosh.
neat.
I should be getting his autograph.
Actually, next week, he broke the men's pole vaulting record. It was crazy.
No way. way. He jumped over 20 feet. Holy crap.
Yeah, next week. He wasn't kidding when he was going to pole vault over that plane. He knows what's up.
I am so proud of him. You tell him that for me.
Sandy Cheeks PV, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your crazy schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, I just have to go groom my dogs now instead of earlier. So I'm going to go take care of that.
I don't know what that means, but you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.